Has everybody had a chance to look through all this?
Mm-hmm.
Anything on the agenda you would like to change or add?
Well, as discussed at the last meeting, I had discussed and asked the board if they would want me to bring my daughter in to do a presentation about possibly filling and doing the thing on the house. And that wasn't put on the agenda.
Yeah, it's number B, 6B.
Did updated video discussion. Okay, I apologize.
I would propose moving that to after public invited to be heard so that they can do their thing.
Okay, we'll move it on, but yes, that's it.
So I apologize. I didn't realize that was what it was, and
Perfect.
I've been a little discombobulated, so I
Okay,
apologize.
so we got.
So I invited them to come to public invited to be heard.
Okay. Okay, we'll get you in just a second.
Oh, no, you're all good.
Okay, so is there anything else on the agenda then? No. Okay.
Can we re-add upstairs closet organization to the future agenda items? It's slipped off of the future agenda items.
I think we decided last time that was for the house manager.
No, it's that, Ben said it would be a good idea to have the house manager in place before we tackle that project.
Right,
We want her input on
Yeah.
it, because what she wants.
but it said something about having volunteers. She would be in
She would
charge
be
of
in charge.
it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
But that's
That's fine.
what I was
So what do you want to add?
on back on future agenda items, upstairs closet
Closet
organization.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Okay, so now we're at point number 3, public invited to be heard.
Hi. So my name is Melanie McCoy. This is Jamal Page, the owner of Black Star Media. I'm just going to pass around these cards. Feel free to take one each. We have our website and our social media and all of our information on that, so you can kind of check us out more. We're a video production company out of Fort Collins, Colorado, but we do work all throughout Colorado. My mom was kind of explaining to me that you guys were looking at redoing that documentary that was released. So we were kind of looking at that and seeing ways that we could make improvements. So Jamal has made a pitch for you guys on this little computer right here in terms of trying to save some paper, help the environment a little bit. So I hope everyone can see, but I will also email this out to you guys. Just let me know. And I'll just kind of turn it over to Jamal because he has the real brass tacks of what we can kind of do for you and the finances of everything. So I know that you guys would need to get with your grant, etc.
Right. Well, yeah. So first of all, just thanks for having us. Happy to be here. I am, as Molly stated, working with Black Star Media as the creative director, and we do a lot of things in northern Colorado. I guess I should just say just Colorado in general. We kind of go all over the place, and especially when it comes to cities and municipalities and kind of like things that they are involved with or support, tends to be a lot of what our strong suits are in just our our industry. So with that being said, as it relates to the Callahan House, let me see if I can do this without.
Upside down.
Yeah.
You
see how good I am at this? Okay, cool.
Yeah, like I said, I will. We would love to email this out to everyone too, in case you need to review this out.
Yeah, we'll email it.
Yeah.
So the Callahan House, I don't know why I'm telling you guys all this. I'm sure you know. Well, I need to read it because I did some research on the Callahan House, and again, I feel weird telling you guys this. Of course, you know. But Mr. Callahan and his family obviously very influential to not just Longmont, but northern Colorado as a whole, because as they kind of came here and developed and established and became the booming industry that they were, it led to not just Longmont, but the rest of the region kind of growing around that. Obviously, one of the big selling points is the first automobile in Longmont. Not like the first one, but the first automobile in Longmont being through the Callahans themselves. Just goes to show you how influential they were in bringing the future to, I was going to say Fort Collins, to Longmont. Sorry, I live in Fort Collins,
Right.
so
It's
my
hard
brain
to-
just defaulted.
Autopilot.
I'm
So-
sure they were involved.
Yeah, I'm sure. So our approach with the documentary would be to first structure it in terms of what the story elements are, right? So we want to be able to highlight not just the Callahan family, but the house itself, because the house itself has so much history behind it just independently. So our approach would be kind of taking us, like if you're the viewer, taking the viewer through different areas of the house. We can, at some point figure out if we want to have like a narrator or a host or what that can look like. But if that were the case, like whoever that person is could be taking us through and showing us different rooms, and as we enter different rooms, we're trying to get history lessons. And this is where the fun video element comes into play. As they're kind of taking us to the rooms, that's when we start showing some of the old documents and pictures and maybe newspaper headlines of things that were happening in relation to what they're speaking about. And then from the visual element of things, just really approaching it in a I want to say almost an abstract way of really highlighting the intricate features. So like, we would have some really nice shots of like just like light fixtures or what the, average
The wood around the
wood looks
building
like,
and
yeah.
all of those different features, and the statue up front, etc., the gardens.
exactly.
Luminous.
Yeah, something so it's not just like a broad pan of the room and that's all you get, because we really want to see like what the room is about, what the features are about, and just what the house is about. So that's kind of what the approach would be from a story element and a visual element as well. And then we can dive into that more so as we get further on in the documentary. Now a little bit about who we are, Blacksburg Media. We are located in Fort Collins, and we've been, Blacksburg Media has been in operation for about 5 years now, going on 5, 6 years now. And what we love to do is just tell stories, and tell stories in a way that engages the audience and brings about change in whoever the story is either about or whoever gets the chance to watch the video. We just really love to bring about social change and, help change what our society is
Which
just
is
by videos.
very applicable with the
Yeah.
Callahan House and the fact that this is meant as a place for women in Longmont to really congregate, and so just showing that and spotlighting that especially.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, and we do it all. So we do documentary videos with short films, music videos, whatever it takes to show the story, get the story out, no matter who the client is, right? So that's kind of what we do really well. It's just the story elements. So a couple of our past projects have gone on to be pretty well received. I don't know if this is, there we go. A couple of our past projects have gone on to be pretty well received just within the filmmaking world, right? So sometimes you'll do a short film or a music video and you send those off to festivals just like around the country. And if you're successful, you win awards, whatever. So we've been fortunate enough to just have success in that realm of things. Obviously that side is a bit different than like the more commercial business that we do, but that just goes to show you with all this stuff how well-rounded we are as a company, and that if we had the chance to do a documentary about the Callahan House, it would be taken care of with the same amount of like reverence and respect that we would have with any of our other creative projects and short films. Recent work, these are links, so they're probably not going to work right now, but we'll email all this to you. Foco Talks, yeah, so one of our recent projects at the Talks is Foco Talks. So we've been working with FC Public Media out of Fort Collins for a new video series, where that one is kind of based around mostly Fort Collins as a community, and just a bunch of different marginalized communities in there, and what living in Fort Collins looks like to them. And through that video series, we kind of work through, of course, FC Public Media, but the town of Fort Collins itself. This is a public broadcasted channel that's on all of the local TV stations. And it's been a really fun kind of project for us to not just work with the city, but work with the city on a project that is talking about the city. And then have that project also be something that's on public access TV.
It also has that historic element that we would be capturing with the Callahan House as well. So if you look at that link once we send that out, it has those similar features of what we would kind of look at when shooting this, with featuring the documentation, photographs, everything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the other ones are just, it's better to click the links. It's hard to explain.
They're more
You'll
like
see them.
commercial.
Yeah, they're commercial works, but
yeah.
they just go off to show the level. So Glass and Scrap is a local nonprofit, and that link is just in there to kind of display the visual elements of what we can do, because that particular link has a lot of just like moving graphics and kind of fun pocket images. So that link is in there just to highlight what post-production can look like. The bottom link is our Safe and Secure Elections video. That one was a cool one because that's a national campaign that we did as well. And that link is in there just to highlight the quality of production that we can provide, because that was a pretty large project for us, as it was a nationally funded campaign that went on to be everywhere. So we were, really dialed in on making that look really great. So that's what that link is for, is to show the quality. Glass and Scrap is to just show what our post-production elements can do. And then Focal Talks just to highlight the fact that we are familiar with working with city governments, municipalities, working within communities that we live in.
As well as historical topics.
Yes. Now, what we have here? Budget and cost. So line items are, now I'm gonna have to look at it. So we've got our director, grip, sound, post, and rentals. Rentals has an asterisk because that's very project specific. Sometimes we'll approach a project and we don't need to rent out equipment from anywhere else because we have what we need already to get it done. So that one is always kind of a hit or miss. But these items are listed as if we're filming for 2 days for this documentary. So this is what 2 days of filming would look like budget-wise, because everything kind of breaks down into day rates. The way things really operate is there's either like day rates or there's kind of hourly rates. And again, it's very project specific because one is more beneficial than the other depending on what you're doing. Sometimes an hourly rate is better suited for what you're doing. If you're going out to just shoot a corporate event, you're there for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, pretty easy setup. But however, if you do an hourly rate for something where you're like filming for 8 hours that day, that might be less cost effective than just having like a flat day rate. So that's why those are kind of itemized in that order, and these are listed as what the day rates would be rather than the hourly rates. So we would have, in terms of crew, director / DP, we would have a grip, and that just means the person who essentially helps with the lighting. They help just put up, I think in this case, it'd be less lighting, more of like making sure that there's not a glare coming out of the window, something like that. But they're the person that like is rigging up all the C-stands. Then we've got our sound mixer. That's the person who's actually got the boom mic, and they're running around making sure that whoever the narrator is can be heard really well. And then I believe post-production, and that's just the editing.
And for the narrator, we can do a lot of different options in terms of the Callahan House, whether that we want to have it be a board member, a director, a city official, which I think could be a really cool thing to incorporate them within this project, or an actor who is outside of this as well, which we get connections with.
Yes.
Can we get Morgan Freeman?
I don't know if we can get
Morgan
him. It'd be pretty awesome.
I'll try to make a call.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. He might be a little bit busy, but I'm
He's
sure he'll
like,
answer.
yeah.
Just got a great voice.
Yeah, just swing by.
How do you do closed captioning?
Yes.
Is that standard with your?
Yes. Yeah. I can also, once we email this to you, I can send over links of other projects that have closed captioning examples, just so you guys can get an idea of what that looks like. But yes, absolutely we do. So for our options here, total estimate, the top one is what pricing would look like just without rental fees, because again, sometimes we've collected a lot of gear and equipment over our years of working, and so sometimes the rental fee is not existent.
Or we know someone that we can kind of use
someone.
that equipment from.
It's really in
a day or two.
very special use cases where someone wants like a sweeping crane shot of a thing, and we're like, yeah, we can do that. We just have to like rent the equipment from like a rental house, and those tend to be a bit pricey. So that's why I just had the asterisks on there. But in this situation, I'm not entirely sure if rentals would even be needed. So I would almost just go with the top budget item for this project.
Sam Elliott.
Yeah,
Sam Elliott.
He's good too. We get both of them.
Are you guys just thinking over who you're gonna get as the?
I love it. A bunch of dreamers.
Yeah, this is just our
Alright.
contact
Sam
info
Elliott.
with our emails.
And my email is also on the card, so
Yeah.
reach out, feel free to, and then I'm gonna have my mom connect us with all of you guys so we can send out this presentation.
Yeah.
For you all to
Well,
review.
in truth, I would feel more comfortable if Sue Ellen did that.
Or whoever.
Yeah.
I would give you this and start.
It'll work.
Not quite sure.
Wonderful.
But
We're
look,
not sure how we'll make it happen.
I have a question
Yeah.
about pitching and placement
Mhm.
of this video. It sounds like you already have in mind PBS. Do you have like good connections with them, or does someone on the
So
board?
I worked with PBS prior for a program at Metropolitan State. So I have connections with one of their producers there. That doesn't necessarily mean much in terms of us, giving something to them. They still have to go through their normal review process, but I do have that initial
Yeah.
connection. Yes.
Yeah, and I do as well. I know a couple of other people who regularly have their projects circulating through PBS.
Okay.
I think that one of the big pushes that, and I know personally, and the board knows this as well, that because we've received money from the Colorado State Historic Fund, we would really like to be able to get it on the Colorado Experience. And from speaking with PBS in the past, the video that's in existence currently is not a standard.
Yeah, I reviewed that video and it's a little bit of there's some sizing problems when it comes to images and stuff like that, and that's something that we would absolutely have fixed and corrected in our video. So all of that sizing would be.
Yeah, and I was going to say another thing with kind of going back to that Foco Talks project that we do with SC Public Media. That's, again, since it's a publicly broadcasted project, once we are creating that, there are guidelines that we have to work within just for broadcast guidelines, sizing guidelines, so things are fitting on every TV screen wherever you're watching it. So when it comes to things like that and just that process of like making sure things are sized and appropriate and where they need to be in terms of just broadcast rules, that's a thing that we get a lot of history with.
That was another question I had, because we do have a local station, Channel 3 here, in which we do something very similar, and we'd like to, at least I would like to see that it would be shown there as well, and for the community, as much community involvement as possible. Of course, that's just my own personal thought.
I have one question on the length. Would you keep, I think the current one's between 10 and 15 minutes. I'm not sure the exact length of it.
So it was 36 minutes, I believe,
Was it
or
that
about
long?
40
was
to on the long end. And it was rather robust documentary. Would you guys want to keep it around that same length?
Well, one thing I like about the old one, even though it definitely needs upgrading, is that it's very historical.
Yes.
I mean, not only the Callahan House, but it covers the history of Longmont.
Yeah.
And I think that's important too, because really, I don't know where else kids get it.
Right.
Unless they see it on something like that. I don't know if it's taught in schools.
Yeah.
We do have a really vibrant history here too. So would you also include?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and one thing that I was going to explore with that, and I didn't include it on this pitch because I'll just kind of put that in a more comprehensive format for you guys. But one thing that I was going to try to explore is seeing if anyone here wanted to lend their voice to the video as well, whether that be like, we sit down and do a quick testimonial, and like maybe one of you can speak about either your personal history in Longmont or just, interesting facts that you know of Longmont. If there's just anyone who would be like,
Or perhaps even how you got involved in Callahan House in general. There is so much history.
Sure, because you are.
Candy's a good
Because
family history.
wasn't it
in my house.
a relative of yours who heard firsthand from, what was the wife's name, Callahan?
Mary Shy.
But who heard that she wanted
Alice
to
Callahan.
make this available to,
My husband's great grandparents used to
Yeah.
play bridge with the Callahans.
yeah.
And then the great uncle handled the deed. I have a copy of a quick claim that was my husband's great grandfather's.
your great
Yeah.
grandfather didn't happen to be J.C. Penney, was he?
No,
No, probably no one. All right. No.
Yeah, they have a clothing store right
Yeah.
It's a clothier, so they
Right,
were
yeah.
businessmen on the
Yeah.
on Main Street.
Didn't there,
Absolutely.
wasn't that the picture in the paper that their house burned, or their store
Their
burned?
store
Right.
was shine.
Yeah, but you know what funny about that picture? It was in the Times called yesterday about
Yeah, that's what I
the
saw.
fire that happened at Shi's clothing store, and that was 1964. And it had popped up on my daughter's whatever she had, and the article was right there, and it said, "The fire at the ACHEY's clothing store."
ACH.
Wait a minute, that's our clothing store. So she right away sent a text, and they changed it just like that. So it was corrected before it actually went to print.
Wow.
But had Sarah not seen that,
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I saw the shade.
She's clothing.
She's
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, we'd love to get you on camera and telling us about everything like that, because that kind of goes into the documentary as well, the video.
I mean, I grew up here in Longmont, as you all know, and coming to the Callahan House multiple times, going on tours here and visiting the other historic homes here in Longmont. So I really want you to know that, like, if we are able to work on this project, it will, like, I'm very passionate about capturing this story and capturing the historic presence that Longmont and the Callahan House has, because of the importance to not only myself, but to the entire community.
Yeah.
So, and I Jamal can say that.
Yeah, I live in Fort Collins now, but my first place I had ever been to in Colorado was Longmont. Yeah, and I spent about 6 months here. And then went back home to Oklahoma, where I'm from, and I was only there for a year, and then had the opportunity to move to Fort Collins. And I was like, that's close enough to Longmont.
Yeah, it is close.
Yeah. So now we're Fort Collins.
That's great.
Okay, then I have some other probably stupid questions, as I
Ask
would be
any
told.
question you
Yeah.
got.
But one of the other things that we is on my pet project. So we work with we've got our QR codes, and I had hoped that at some point we could put QR codes up to link on, and then possibly have a little presentation. Is that something you can help us with?
Like a QR code that would be on, say, the statue up front, or like a
Yes.
different item, and then when you're going through, it would go through to that exact section in the video?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely, yeah, no
That's what
problem
I'm
at all.
asking. Thank you for understanding my gibberish.
She's used to your
I know you, it's okay.
Can you help me understand that? So if somebody is walking through, they scan the QR code, and what the video is where?
So it would go, so they're scanning with their phone, correct? And so then it would go to the exact point in the video that we would
That's
have linked to it.
Mhm.
And then it would be like, oh, we're gonna talk about the statue up front, or we're gonna talk about the gardens, or, you know, we're gonna talk
Yeah.
about like,
Well, so
the
that on your
upstairs.
phone,
Yeah.
it would play.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
So those are
And would
short,
there-
short
Snippets.
videos, right?
So would you,
Snippets, yeah.
okay, so you'd have
Yeah.
individual vignettes like.
Yeah, that's
for
the thing we could do,
Uh-huh.
because we'll have, like, of course, the long, like, all-encompassing video. But then from that, we can take snippets and just have those be independent
Mhm.
videos. So for
Nice.
example, people using QR codes, they're not getting whatever the full thing is, they're just getting like just, you know, a 30-second clip of the room that
Very
they're
nice.
standing in.
That's
So
cool.
something
So,
like,
uh,
I was thinking
go ahead.
like, I apologize.
No, no, go ahead.
Or like the fountain, if somebody clicks on the fountain, if we've got the QR code, they can just have just about.
It talks about the fountain.
And if we have an open house, and let's say there is a bunch of people, not enough, to gather around and hear the whole spiel in any given room by the presenter,
Mhm.
they could just go to that on their phone. There might be a QR code for the individual room even.
Mhm. Yeah,
Would
absolutely.
that add to the cost of the production?
It would depend. I mean, I think it all depends on scheduling, right? So if we had like a 2-day shoot, we could have the one day be just kind of a walkthrough day where we are filming, and it's just a very broad kind of scope of things. And then we can come back on day 2 and be more focused, and like all of day 2 could just be like video of this room, video of that room. That way we can be more focused on our approach of things. So I still think it would be doable in 2 days, because the only thing that would add to cost or price would really just be the amount of days needed to film.
And in terms of materials for those QR codes, because I'd assume, especially if we're outside, we want to do a plastic or something like that, that's a very minimal cost as well, so.
So, when you're putting together some kind of framework for us to review before you ever get to the point of filming and production, how detailed would that be? You'd have your script that we would be reviewing and,
yeah,
shot sheet or whatever that would
Exactly.
show the different things while the script is going?
Yep.
Yes.
And the script would be like a very collaborative process. So, we would maybe even write an outline of just like what would be cool to see, and then maybe everyone else can contribute like the fine details of that outline, just so that we're all on the same page of like what's being communicated to the viewer through what room, through what story, through whatever.
So would there be a charge for that, I mean, you're putting time into that introduction piece with their, or that.
No,
That would be.
Seems like it'd be part of the project. What about a day where you're just coming out here and scoping things out long before you even start that script or the first run through to shoot, so that you,
Right.
I mean, would you charge for that kind of thing?
Possibly, it wouldn't be a full day rate. It'd be like maybe like a half day rate, and that would only be for the sake of the film crew, because it helps for them to come out and get eyes on the property before the day of showing up and just like learning everything right then and there, trying to figure out what to do.
What about before you write your script, that walkthrough where people knowledgeable of all these rooms and of the house and of how we might want to bring the Longmont history into it, whatever, are here to take you through, you the decision makers who are writing the script, so that you know what needs to be, generally what kinds of things need to be built into it.
Right.
In that walkthrough, it seems like that would be important.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
Yeah.
And some of the nice things of kind of what our role is on terms of just the creative side is we take all the information, right? We compile everything that the client or the business or whoever is wanting to communicate, right? And maybe they're not so much a creatively minded individual, but they know exactly what they want to communicate. So that's where people like us are going to come in, and we say, okay, we hear what you're saying, we hear what you're wanting to get out there into the world. Here's what we think is the most effective way of doing that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And even when you're coming to do a walkthrough and learning, you'll probably spot things that we wouldn't even think of that you could do in a video that would make it.
And same with like the different stories throughout Longmont, like there is so much history here, so we really want to make sure that we're spotlighting what you guys want to talk about and not, because there is so much going to all these different various things. Because we could talk with the Dickens family forever as well. That's a whole other story in itself. But yeah, we'll provide full shot list, script, and audiovisual script as well.
So if commissioned to do this work, when would you anticipate filming could realistically happen, and then what time frame after filming would you have a final product?
So I think somewhat in terms of like when we would be filming would really depend on your guys' availability. We obviously do have some pre-scheduled shoots on our schedule, but it would be up to when you guys are not hosting an event or a wedding or the various different things that happen at the Callahan House. So we would need to kind of confer with your guys' schedule and our schedule to find 2 days that worked.
So if we said late October.
Late
October. I'm just throwing you a date.
Yeah.
It's late October.
Yeah.
So if we filmed in late October, when would you have a final product?
If we filmed in late October, we could have something to you by mid-November.
So would it be possible to do some of the outdoor stuff earlier?
Yes.
Get all that
Well,
footage
so looks nice.
while it's nice.
Flowers.
And then it wouldn't even be an issue if certain indoor projects aren't done yet that we want later in October. Hopefully it would be, but we get all that beautiful stuff outside.
Well, the flowers and the fountains are open and all
And
that.
looking at our schedule, we have September pretty open in terms of especially that kind of second week there, and
If we could hear.
what's the peak for the garden?
You know, August,
The third
September
third
too,
week.
but August, September.
August.
End of September, we can get frosts.
Yeah, and so we also have availability in August, very flexible schedules, and we're looking at our calendar right now. But we could do that third week in September, and then earlier, I know, kind of looking at this, we could do any of those last 3 weeks in August, or even
For the
that
flower,
second
for the
week.
gardens, I wouldn't go for the August part.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And because Anne was a gardener here, she knows the garden.
Yeah, that's why I asked her, what's the
Yeah.
peak for the
Yeah.
garden?
Yeah. Well, September is iffy, you know, I mean, it can be beautiful, but you get an early frost and then.
This is Colorado, it gets crazy.
It's not in September.
Exactly, it's done that.
Right.
And obviously with the weather this year, we have
Yeah, we-
no idea.
All bets are off.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, it's great that you all are so flexible and can do that.
Can work with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the nature of our business in terms of moving around shoots and having to kind of be flexible, so yeah, very flexible.
I'm just gonna email this pitch to Sue
Sue Allen.
Allen right
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
Is that
Perfect.
perfect email right there?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna do that while we're sitting right here.
And you know, if we knew when you were gonna come to do video out in the gardens, we'd probably wanna make sure the landscaping crew is not there that day, but maybe the day before.
We have a lot of moving parts
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
will be a consideration, so, but for concept,
Right.
that's right now.
Concept, and that's exactly.
So if we're looking at August, it would be really great just for our scheduling purposes, if you wanted to send over a couple dates, 2 dates, that would really work for you guys in August, in terms of, like I said, that you're not hosting an event, et cetera.
Yes, slow down a little bit.
Because
Because
we'll
we're
have to-
involved.
Yeah,
But I mean, I love it, so,
Yeah.
you know, I have nothing against it, but.
absolutely.
But they have,
I absolutely am for it, if we can look at a quick timeline, I think it's a great idea.
and I think the details can be hashed out, off the meeting, just so that we
Yeah.
can continue the business for today.
Absolutely.
And then,
I just figured I'd put it out there that we really are like willing to come in whenever, so
Okay.
whenever works for you guys, and whenever you kind of looked at things and said, maybe this is something you seriously wanna do, just feel free to send dates our way, we're not in a rush. So,
okay, thank
And
you.
just to bottom line this, everybody is in agreement that this is a good idea.
Yes,
It's
it's
pretty
necessary.
clear,
Yeah.
and we'd like to do that, get that updated. I think the idea of getting it onto what is it?
The Colorado experience.
Yeah.
And because it's really
Amazing.
supported, and we would really like, in my opinion, I think it's important that we highlight that we receive funds from the Colorado Historic Preservation.
Yes.
Strengthen that bond.
And because they are very active in supporting that specific program on PBS,
Sure.
I think it would be a win-win for everybody.
Right.
We are fulfilling our grant
Mhm.
obligations because we received a large fund for windows and the
Painting and-
Yeah, driveway
You know more than
painting.
I do in regards to that, and that would be fulfilling our promise to them that we would acknowledge all the funds that we received as a
Yes.
city.
Nice.
So it's
What about, I know this is a detail, the last little detail I'm gonna throw out is when you're acknowledging that, not necessarily in that part of the video or anything, but at the end, would you have some kind of thing similar to the list that we're trying to create of, you know, past donors?
Can we do that of donors and
Like a-
Yes,
that-
yeah.
scrolling thing?
That's it.
so-
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Correct.
We can do that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Wonderful.
Thank you for
So
your
you'll
time.
be-
You'll be emailing that out to everybody.
Yeah.
And nice to meet you
Yes,
both.
If you have
Yeah,
any
you as well.
questions at all, feel free to reach out via that email.
Mhm.
I'm always available, so.
Thank you guys so much for having
Thank
us.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so much, yeah.
It's great to meet you.
This is exciting.
Would you like me to put these chairs back in there?
If you like.
Yes.
Yeah, you do.
It's not important.
Thank you.
We can function with it. Cindy
I know
does so
it's-
much.
That's right.
No, no, no.
Thank you guys again.
Thank you. Nice meeting you guys. Okay, that was really interesting.
Very
Yeah. Do we want any more discussion on that, or do you want to let it soak in for a little bit, or?
That was a lot of information, guys, more than I was even, so
I think we're all on, everybody here is on board.
Yeah, I
So
I think it's very
We'll-
appropriate, everything.
this is not a ridiculous
Yeah,
cost.
you would-
That's what I was worried about.
That was
Right.
gonna be my next thing, sure, we have enough money to pay for this.
So on
I need to dig into the money. but-
Okay, we'll have to, before we go too far, we'll have to make sure we got
Right.
the funds.
So as we get to the manager report, we stopped the online advertising for Callahan, I believe in February, because of the restoration. That cost is not insignificant, and I think the 9-month savings of that would cover almost all of this project. If you guys are in agreement not to do any additional advertising until next year, so that the funds that were allocated for advertising that were not used for social media outreach would instead be
Could
transferred.
apply to that.
My question there is though, how are we set for weddings for next year? Because if we stop advertising, we're also gonna stop getting inquiries.
Well,
We do need those funds too.
But the budget for next year occurs toward the end of this year, and so, the funds, saved.
they're use or lose.
Would be
Right.
for
User
2023.
And that is for 2023. And so for 2024 advertising, that's
I don't
going
want
to
you
be, I
guys to
think,
worry
a
about
little
that.
bit
Yeah, we'll
different.
figure that
I don't want
Yeah.
you, that's
So I
not,
just-
you guys don't.
The big thing for me is, that was the big unknown.
Mhm.
I didn't know numbers.
I-
I've had this dream, I've had this push that we do this, but number wise was always that scary unknown
Mm,
that I had no idea what that figure
I
was
felt
gonna
like they
be.
could have showed $20,000 and
Right.
like,
right.
And that's part of the
This is-
reason why.
This is very reasonable.
This
I-
seems reasonable to me.
And especially
I'm
when the
surprised
kind
how
of product
reasonable
that
it
you put
is.
out.
Could we see, well, we'll get it, I guess, when they send that email out, there's some links and we can see
Yeah.
some.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, once we see
We're
the,
gonna sign the bottom line. You guys take a look at the stuff, we will too.
Right.
We'll run the numbers behind the scenes.
I
And
just,
we'll send out information on this, cause this is something we're not gonna wait till the next meeting
Okay.
to go on, cause we're all in favor of the
Right.
idea of it.
Do we need to do an official?
Unless,
I think we
I
would need
think
a
it'd be
vote.
appropriate to
But
do
first,
you, yeah, you
yeah.
you can.
we really can't vote on, I mean, we want them to start, but until we see their outline of what they're gonna
A
do.
recommendation to move.
Yeah, recommendation to move forward, but not yet to approve the
To
whole
look
project.
at the proposal.
Yeah, the proposal that they come up with.
Okay, and my big thing is, like you, Ben, I was scared to death of that number. I had no idea what that number was gonna be. And that's why I'm like, okay, well, we'll listen, we'll see, and then we'll go from there. So to me, that number came in way lower than I was expecting, so and happily so. I was just,
Can I just ask of well, most of us have, has anybody on the board here not seen the current video? Has everybody seen it?
I need to go back and review it some more.
Yeah, I
I
think
watched
a few
it
years
pretty
since
I would
quickly.
say, look at the old one first, so
Yeah,
you have,
that's
I'm kind
important.
of going, I think you can get it
Yeah.
online, can't you?
Yeah,
It's on
I
the city's
think-
website.
yeah.
It's on the city's
link
website.
on the-
Yeah, I think I have a little page.
Kathy gave us a little disc.
Yeah, but I don't have a disc player.
Oh,
On my computer.
It's online.
it's over to my house, have some wine.
Okay.
I must admit, I had reservations about tossing the old one.
Yeah, because it's a lot
Up
of.
until about halfway through the presentation. When it started with the QR codes and putting it on Colorado and
the
Yeah.
experience and all the other possibilities that one does not have built in,
Right.
then that convinced me. I mean, it was
That
like,
big-
history's not gonna change. And
Right.
the history of Callahan and what we've got is documented in that first one.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But taking us into the future with all these other things.
Yeah, the whistles and bells that we
Good
have.
point.
And
Right, exactly.
I'm with you. The old video, I think, has its place, and I don't think it should be going anywhere. To be very clear on
That's a
that.
very good historical.
It's
Yeah.
a very good historic information. It's, my big push was, okay, I took that, I went and I approached PBS with it, and they said it was not it was a subpar quality, I would not use it. And I'm like, okay. So just like you, that's kind of where I'm at. I just think once a film is made, it's just like any film. If you remake a film, you have the older film to go back and reference,
in
and
the
I
archives.
don't think we
It's not
have
going
it.
anywhere.
Yeah, it's
Go
not going
anywhere.
anywhere.
So I didn't know that you had pitched it to to PBS. So
I had
that's a
approached
good-
them, I put
good
feelers
point,
out
if
there.
that was their reaction.
I just went out there and I spoke with the production people, that was it. I got some just very, maybe 10-minute phone call type of thing. And they said, no, we're very specific on how we do this, we're so many years out in how we put something on, and it has to be of a certain quality, and they went on to the thing, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
It was kind of a balloon deflating moment, but that was, yeah.
You know what's so interesting about putting something on PBS, or any place where you get a broader scope of viewers than you've had before, even just, in northern Colorado, we might find people who have history that's part of this,
That we didn't know
just
about.
like the ones in, wherever he's at, Chillicothe. Chillicothe, yeah.
So given that I'm gonna make a motion. So given that the cost of this project is gonna be reasonable and within means, given the reduction of marketing expenditures, I move that we accept the process in moving forward with, this kind of project. And as long as you're
Now, you're saying that as a,
citywide, as long as on a city level, that's acceptable financially, then I move that we move forward with this.
To consider the project.
considering, yeah, to not,
Yeah.
we're not
Yes.
Right,
We're not approving it.
putting a nail in the coffin.
We're not on any
Yeah.
contract or anything, we're just moving forward
To see what they can
Yes.
propose to us. So basically, you're giving a motion to approve them to give us a proposal and a demo,
Yeah.
To go forward with the project, to look at the
Yeah,
possibility.
well, I don't want them to put a lot of money into it yet, and I don't
No.
want us to commit a lot of money.
Yeah.
I
Right,
just want to see their little proposal, and I'm sure we'll go through with it, but I
Right.
think we should do this step by step, so we
See the
don't.
links.
Yeah,
So that's moved.
So we move forward, I'm
with
just
their
going to
proposal.
move forward.
Just need a second.
You move that we move forward in our consideration of this project.
Yeah, that's the,
That's good.
in our
And
consideration.
we give them authorization to create a proposal for us. I mean, he had a little proposal there, but that was more just an intro. They were gonna give us an outline, I think he said, or.
Well, I think what he's providing to Sue Ellen, Sue Ellen's going to provide to us, that is their example
Yeah.
of what they can do.
Okay.
And then I think we, at that point, have to probably
Then we have to decide if we
say,
wanna,
yes,
yeah.
this
We
looks
commit.
good.
so we're
Yeah.
not committing, but.
No, we're not committing.
So,
Yeah.
Okay.
but how will Ben and Sue Ellen move forward with any kind of?
I don't think we need to get specific.
With this
Just a quick
motion.
question, not with this, not
Motion.
with this motion. Because if they're talking about some August dates of maybe getting out to do some filming, are we going to talk about this again next month?
Which is August.
Yes, I know, but I just didn't know the August dates and I didn't want that to happen.
Or we could be giving them the permission to come and take a look at it.
That's.
That's it.
We're
This
gonna
is a-
have to see.
I'm trying to think how to
We're gonna
phrase
have
this
see.
motion so that we.
Right,
No, because I also don't want, we wanna be done.
Right.
Side too, there's
Right.
also
Right.
that.
The painting to be
Consider
completed,
that. So-
and the weather's been
Oh.
so bizarre this year.
Yeah.
It's
We
been
have
bizarre.
There is
no-
more
no
outside
issue.
stuff.
No control over that.
No,
Okay.
So
so,
these are unknowns right now.
Yeah. Okay.
But
So how do we-
let's start forward.
How can we phrase this?
let's move forward
I
with
think-
considering the
That's
proposal.
simple.
Can you mention the phrase again, so that,
You wanna-
Karen moved that we move forward in our consideration of this.
Consideration, okay, so,
yeah.
well, I second that.
All in favor?
All in favor? I was waiting for you guys.
You have to
Any
stop.
names? Read my mind, read my mind.
Yeah, read my mind.
Okay, okay, all A's. Okay, all right, well then let's move on. That was the first time we've ever had public.
Yes, that's nice.
Okay, packet update, number two.
Can we
Number two.
go back
Oh,
to two?
yeah, we
Yeah, I'm
just-
sorry, I
Yeah,
realized you
minutes.
jumped, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
my bad. Approval of previous month's minutes. Should we read them and everybody can have it?
I just have one quick correction under number 5, old business. In the third paragraph, Brittany's name is misspelled.
Oh, yeah.
I
I saw
Oh,
that
it
and I
is.
forgot to say.
Old business.
Old
Number
business
five.
is in number 5, yeah.
I.
On the third
it's
paragraph
LRB,
down,
it should be
Brittany.
Y.
You went, okay.
That's just a typo. having
Yeah.
been there a million times.
You know those.
And I have a few quick suggestions. One, can we add into the minutes the lettering under the paragraph numbering like it is in the agenda? Because then that's easier to reference.
Well, I've waffled back and forth with the template that I've got, I think.
The template,
I will attempt to
yeah, you
switch
can
over.
spend a lot of time messing with that.
We're working towards a complete ADA revision of our website, and so a different way of, we are moving in that direction. I guess.
Formatting.
The formatting
Letters are
in that,
coming.
in that way, so it is coming.
Because we had them previously and
Yeah,
minutes
trust
prior.
me.
Well, I think the format was established for this before we established that. And so I was
Right.
set in my ways already.
Right,
We'll
exactly,
get that.
exactly.
So that's in the
So-
future.
So then I've got a correction under paragraph 2.
Paragraph 2, number 2.
Number 2, sorry, number 2. The second bullet, it was me, not Karen Reed, that asked for a link for the public to access the Callahan House minutes.
Okay.
So that's Karen Cruz. And if you could include that it was a link, and for the public specifically, that's a link for the public to access the Callahan House minutes. And then Ben said we could send the link out.
Okay.
For clarification, not for the minutes, where do you want this link to be?
Well, that's a good question. How else will,
It's on PrimeGov now, so if someone went to the City of Longmont, went to the advisory boards, looked at the Callahan House, they're all there.
The links are.
The links are there, the packets are attached. They have been historically for
Okay.
quite some time.
so can we include that in the minutes, just that links to prior Callahan House minutes are located on the city's website under, did you say boards? Advisory boards, and then Callahan House, just so that everybody's hunting for it, so that it's written in.
I just remember you had to hunt for,
Well,
this is from first.
There's a lot of hunting.
This has been a common theme, so.
And Brittany even asked last
Under
time.
Crab too,
Okay.
I think if we could get a link to these other, to the home pages that take us directly to PrimeGov or directly, I'm not sure how direct you can go, but let's look at that.
What is it called, PrimeGov?
Yeah, nobody will know what that means.
No,
so-
that doesn't have any meaning to anybody.
I'm just writing it
It's
to
where-
myself, see
it's
if I
where
can find
it's
it.
at.
I didn't know there was
Well,
such a thing.
Because it doesn't
Oh,
have,
you
it
want
doesn't
to
have
find
meaning except for us.
Oh.
Yeah, within the city staff itself.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's a system that we use.
I can research that, and that's probably not helpful to put in the minutes, because you didn't know that information for the minutes.
Yeah.
No, but it can be
Something we can add for, in fact,
add
put
it
it on our
So-
new.
these minutes that
Yeah.
if there are corrections made,
I know,
just
do that.
We've
include
heard a similar, just heard a similar thing.
We can add
another,
it to.
yeah.
It is, it's confusing, and I think it's trying to.
Pack it up, I'm trying to think for next month, where should we?
Good for open communications, easy
Easy
user-friendly.
access.
Yeah.
I agree.
Then, the next, item is under number 5, under the curbing topic. Between the first and the second, check marks, we refer to them like that, because that's what the.
I'm sorry, what number are you on, number 5?
Number
Number
5,
five, second
under
paragraph.
curbing. And I believe in between the first and second check marks, we probably should have 1/3 piece of information that was included in the meeting, but it's not referenced here in the minutes. And that was that I had questioned Ben about the origin of that historic landmark picture in the board packet, and then provided everyone with a copy of the Longmont City Ordinance number 1229, designating Callahan House as designating Callahan House as a landmark, and it includes the legal description of the property. And that was for purpose of identifying the accuracy of the description.
That's what the last one says, then we'll revisit the historic landmark picture on the board packet regarding boundaries of the Callahan House. And it's
Yeah, that's pretty.
concise, but no one would know
That was,
why
it was
he's,
referenced
why he's
off.
going back to look at his accuracy. And if you don't refer to, Karen provided the ordinance number 1229, which
So basically-
shows
Okay,
that's
send me
the-
that.
Well, and I think the board minutes are to capture board decisions
Right,
moving forward, not necessarily providing all the intricate details of how a decision was made. I think that we can take that information and include it in a later packet if you would like to have that historically captured.
well, it's an action that occurred in the meeting and discussion that occurred in the
But
meeting.
It's the final,
So it
it's the
does-
finalization.
It's the final
the
decision.
Final decision, not all the details
It's- yeah.
involved.
Right.
Where we have 6
I agree.
pages of minutes.
I understand,
I
but I
prefer
also
not to go into
understand,
that detail.
it's a fine line. I understand your point, I also understand Karen's point. I think if we just state that the ordinance was presented before the board, and she made copies of the ordinance and gave them out to everybody. And so where the ordinance is where we are looking at the boundaries from, not from the picture that was given to us from Ben, but the ordinance itself. And in referencing the ordinance, that's all it is the ordinance was represented in a statement, that was it. I don't think
Well,
that's too much.
My reaction would be to add to this last one about Ben revisiting this as per,
Yeah, there has
per question by, or do something.
That's right.
Ordinance
Perfect. I don't care how it's in there.
Blah, blah, blah.
Honestly, I really don't, long as that it's submitted in there that the ordinance was presented by Karen Bruce.
And then
Re-referenced, that's it. Because we were handed a piece of paper.
revisit the
So sending.
landmark
Just don't say
picture
as per.
packet.
That's one of my pet peeves, is when it says as per. I don't know, just say per.
Okay.
It's just weird. Sounds like aspirin.
Well, anyway, the ordinance was provided to the board so that everyone could review it, so, and the legal description is there. And that's the accurate description.
But what you wrote, then forward to me.
Okay. Um,
Okay,
and,
good catch there.
first, please, in number 9, the third bullet point. Where you have new house manager will take this over. Oh, I think that the intent was take over maintaining the list, because we have the list, but
Where?
the new house manager will take over maintaining the list, because we put together a list which we incorporated in our board
Karen, I'm lost. Where are you
annual.
at?
Paragraph 9, or number 9, under review, the third bullet
Review,
point down.
okay, got it, thank you.
It's just new house manager will take over maintaining the list, and that's because the list is
Okay,
what
got
we've provided to city council with the board annual report for the last 3 years. So the house manager will take over maintaining those. It's still something that
Isn't that, I remember reading the job description for the
no, we're
new
not
house
talking
manager.
about that. It's
But
just,
that was on there, I think, wasn't it?
There's a lot, it's just.
Questioning how I wrote it.
no,
Oh,
it's
okay.
just for clarity, it's just.
I do find it clear the way it's listed, but, there you go.
Yeah, at some point we have to kind of, I think,
I mean, we
I'm
really
sorry.
value,
I'm not
the-
saying.
we really value the secretaries. I
Yes.
think that's very important, and when, I think it's important to, if the overall accuracy is there, to let that go and move forward. Because it is really a summation, it's not meant to be a historical document in and of itself. The details can be found on the video recordings, and that notification of that details are available on the signature pages, they're available a lot of other places, so I really wanna make sure that, being a secretary for this board is not an onerous task, because there is a history of that on this board. So if we could, there you go. So
So then
Simple
with
is
that,
better.
Minimal changes is better.
Yeah.
these, what we probably do need to do in future agenda items, because it's on the agenda, it's actually on the agenda, but when the minutes are addressing the agenda, the future agenda items are just those that are on the future agenda items list. And so there are 4 bullet points that have been added to it, which were not on the future agenda items agenda.
I guess I would
So
like
let's
to
just remove
just,
them, let's just remove them.
That's a tough one. I struggle with that.
yeah,
I struggle with that, trying to figure out what needs to go under that particular section. So Karen, what you're saying is that on the current agenda, like for today, where it has A through E listed as our future agenda items, so those are the only things that I need to address then in the minutes.
This portion, this paragraph 9 or number 9 of the future agenda items
Right.
are only the things that we
That's
address
what I'm
within
wanting to clarify, yeah.
and that, and so we'll just need to remove faulty policy. So these last 4 bullet points, they just need to be removed because they weren't part of future agenda items on the.
So
last
faulty,
agenda.
policy, art walk, and news release,
Right.
all go.
Yeah, however, art walk, that part does need to be moved to the paragraph 5 under art walk, because that did get discussed, but was not included in paragraph 5 about move to July or August agenda, regarding art walk, house unveiling.
can I propose for clarification or just simplicity to move forward with that recommendation, but leave this particular one as is, to limit the amount of moving parts for the minutes?
It gets really crazy.
Yeah, I think, we'll just, for the future, line up with the,
I heard the spelling, I heard the per ordinance, recommendation. Would those 2 changes be acceptable to move forward with approval of the minutes?
I so move.
I second.
All in favor?
Oh,
Just something else.
Just kidding me.
Are you okay with that?
That is what is wanting to happen, so that's fine, that's.
okay, so the previous minutes then are approved, we've done public invited. So let's move on to packet updates, I never know what to say here.
It's just the just the packet presented. I am looking forward to Brittany starting next week, and one of the items that I'd like for her to go back through is the year of 2023, update the number of guests to acclimate her to her new role, and to see what type of events have happened, how many people are attending, because there's just not the bandwidth at the moment to create those accurate numbers for you. So just trying to give you just a quick overview of how things are moving forward. Our groups are still meeting very well. We've had a number of different revenue events, perhaps a bit lower than past years because of keeping those windows available for the restoration and work of the contractors. The contractors have been working in May and June. They've been here measuring windows. They're doing a systematic swap out of the windows of the 2 porches. So if you ever happen to look, you'll see that these two windows are boarded up, and then you come back another day, and then these 2 boards are boarded up.
Okay.
So they're moving through all the
Good.
different windows,
Makes sense.
and getting things lined up for a lot of activity happening in July.
After this weekend,
After this, yeah.
right? We have an event this weekend.
Yeah, we are in that window again.
Yeah.
Yes, after this weekend.
Yeah,
Wedding this weekend, right?
Yes, there is.
I know them.
And then our window.
Oh, you know them? Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. Our number of, our inquiries are down in May and June. I'm not familiar enough with it to know if that's systematic, because the people in May or June are already having weddings, or they're just getting engaged and they haven't really moved into the next phase. And just a reminder that Venue Hub did change their their marketing mission, and they no longer provide leads to non-Denver
Oh,
venues.
Which is, wow,
So,
that's rough.
so that piece is not there through no change of what we have done.
So on these, is there anything that shows the future, like what's scheduled for next year as far as weddings?
Yeah, we've got some new weddings that are booked on page 5.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, we've got a couple that are down, and we are in conversations, I think with 2 other ones that haven't yet committed at this time. So we are seeing movement and requests.
So we're still getting, even without advertising, we're still
Yes,
getting?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
'Cause I was a little concerned when, we're gonna leave the advertising off all year, but we're
Yep.
still getting calls.
No,
Getting
no, it's
interest.
still,
And it's not all year, it's the financial year, correct? That we're leaving,
So our financial year is the
calendar year.
It is
Oh,
a
okay.
calendar.
yeah,
Fiscal year.
it's the fiscal year.
Okay.
That's the word I'm looking for, is the fiscal year.
But I think, like I said, don't you guys worry about those particular dollars. We'll figure that out.
Mhm.
We do want to start to have a presence as we get done here.
Right.
So we'll work on that. Don't-
Jiggle that.
And I'm also looking very forward to what Brittany's stance and views are gonna be on what she feels would be the best way that we move forward in doing
Yeah,
outreach.
'cause you need
Exactly.
For sure.
Exactly, and I think having that project of trying to figure out what we've done this year and really getting a
Very
good
helpful.
handle on that, will be very helpful.
And by the way, this whole thing we just talked about is an incredible marketing tool. So
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
So
maybe
maybe-
a couple of questions. Do we do city events? Is the Callahan House Board meeting considered a city event?
I have no idea.
I think it has been in past records, so April's city event would be at least one board meeting.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
fair
And
enough.
then I have a question about the Koi Ink garden painting that happened in
Yes.
2021 recreation activity. It doesn't show as a revenue generating event, and I'm wondering why. Was there a registration fee for the public to attend or participate in that, or?
I think the revenue did not specifically go to the Callahan House. It was revenue generating in the recreation realm, but money was not shared for this particular item to the Callahan House.
So, is there a standard for how the city uses the venue for other revenue generating events that can also benefit the Callahan House and not just the other department? Does that make sense?
Possibly. This particular one was a garden-only activity,
Okay.
so it was in a, just showcasing this particular piece. So in some respects,
The garden's open to the public,
it's
right?
open to the public, and there, I believe that particular event had 22 to 25 participants. So as far as the marketing and getting something done, there's that other piece there.
Right.
I think there's an opportunity to explore that as we move forward, that the Callahan House is an integral part of recreation services. And we don't charge each other to play nice within a department or division.
It's kind of the same pocket in one apron.
Correct, like they didn't charge us for the board meeting to meet at the Aspen Room at the Memorial Building. There were no charges
For that.
assessed
Okay.
to the Callahan House.
Yeah.
And so this is not a,
But when it's public
Everyday
related is what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know this is not an everyday thing, and it's wonderful that it was garden, and that's great, but
Right.
but just thinking for future, just because I thought, do
And
we
other
even have
city
anything like that in
departments
place?
will use our facilities for public meetings.
And
we
they
don't
will charge them.
For
So
public
anything
meetings?
within the city, it is not charged.
Now,
unless they use a consumable. If they-
yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes.
I mean, clarification wise, unless it's a consumable item, I get that, yeah.
That makes sense.
And I'll do a little bit of a but. If we have ongoing things that can affect potential with that particular facility, then we do have agreements out with the senior center as an example where we have an involved agreement with them about some revenue because they take in some and we take in some for programs that are within their facility, and how that gets shared. So when we have something really involved, it's something so small that it's, we would never have an agreement for such for a small thing. But if we have something that's ongoing, that's what we want to look at.
Okay. Totally makes sense.
Thank you.
And the gardens weren't closed to the public, right?
No, they were
So
open.
people could still walk through,
Yeah.
so.
They would
wasn't like
have
a
seen a
wedding
lot,
where
lot
it's
of painters.
A lot of
Now,
Age,
I'll give
that's
you an
wonderful.
example. So if we ended up having a Tuesday afternoon paint and sip in here, it was through recreation. We ran it through recreation on a regular basis, then that would be one that I think we would try to put that revenue towards Callahan.
That makes sense.
Or maybe it's just run through Callahan, I don't know, but just trying to give you an example of something that we would try to look at. One-off things that are citywide, it's just not worth the trouble.
No, just was curious for overall, is there a standard?
Okay, also in here, we have the Callahan House gazebo and shed to be painted.
Yes. Are there any other questions with the packet, the manager report itself, the pages, whatever, 4 and 5?
No, I'm just so,
I love it.
Other than
Like the format.
I like the format and I'm very looking forward to having our new manager
I am
here.
too, very much so.
Yeah, you can imagine how much she's looking forward to it.
And I see Sue just like shaking her head, just like,
Yeah.
you better believe it, emphatically.
Yes.
So Sue Ellen, you mentioned, so the guests, the numbers of guests, that's gonna be recaptured? when
Yes,
you get-
yes,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah. The fun part about the gazebo and shed, just double checking with you. I gave you pictures because I was asked in the email to share this with you, and short of all of us running outside, actually you could look and see what color the gazebo is, because I had no clue on a quiz.
Right.
Without looking at it, I gave you a photo, and actually it's very beautiful from here. Right now, it's a bright white. The colors are bright white. And this project of painting the gazebo and the shed are outside of the grant.
Okay.
They are not historical in nature, they are just on the grounds.
Will the city be doing it, the city grounds people?
Actually, the same people who are painting
Oh, okay.
this will be painting that from a different pocket of money.
There you go.
So it's going to be seamlessly done around the same time. After they do that.
And that is one of the questions I wanted, and I'm very excited to know that they're being included as part of the overall
The update.
aspect
Right.
of the whole.
It'll all get refreshed at the
Oh,
same
Yeah,
time.
refresh.
Nice.
But they did want to get clarification on the colors, they want whatever, they want that today. So,
Well, can I add something real quick? While I appreciate the idea of keeping the gazebo white, and I'm all for that, and the questioning about the colors of the storage shed, I might suggest that go ahead and go all white, and the reason is because it is not historic in nature, the gazebo either. And though the gazebo represents what was once there, it is not the original house. So I would suggest that we stay white with both the gazebo and
Is
the
the
shed.
shed viewable from the window here?
no, it's
It's
kind of
in that porch right now. No.
on the
We could
north
walk
side,
out there and
yeah.
The only reason
It's on the north
I
side
bring
of
it
the
up is
house.
because it's probably something you don't want to stand out too much.
Exactly,
so
that's
it's gotta be
exactly
some
kind of
color.
right.
Kind of blends in more.
Yeah, whatever that might be.
Whatever
I
it's
don't
up
know.
against is what I would want to match, kind of, or at
It's
least
up against
Yeah.
big brick.
complement
So
whatever it's up against. And it looks like it's up against a brick wall. I mean,
See, I would rather see a
let's take a
legal
quick
color.
look at it. Anybody want to exercise?
Sure.
Real quick one, I ran it over. We won't stay out there too long.
Got it.
You get to talking? I I guess you could pass it along after the meeting.
I would keep it the color it is.
We can send them an email.
No, not that.
We had our 7th inning stretch.
It seems that we haven't seen the sun in how long?
Right,
And now it's
exactly.
just
Isn't
baking.
that right? That's
Now
really
you're gonna see it for a
The
few
sun's baking. We haven't seen the sun for how long? I have relatives here and Melissa was assuring them. Oh, sorry.
Is there anything here we need to vote on?
Yes.
Yes, we will have to vote on that.
So, okay, so I guess what I say is I move
that the gazebo be this bright white, as suggested, and that the storage shed be the light green
The terrain.
terrain,
As painted as solid.
and one solid.
I'll second.
All in favor? Say aye.
Oh,
Okay. Aye. I remember this.
I don't care. She doesn't
Just
care.
hate it. I don't want it
Okay,
white.
so we've got our colors.
Solid. Alright.
Okay.
And we haven't volunteered Karen Reed for painting, so.
Right, thank you, thank you.
Okay, moving right along here, I believe we can move on to old business. So, starting with that, I believe I'll turn it over to Karen for the status, or is that you? No, yeah, Ben, status of the SHF grant.
Well, we're waiting to restart. And my understanding is, no, this has been the plan all along.
This is
So
it.
this is next
Right.
week.
It's the
we
next
start
phase.
with the
Next
bulk.
phase.
Things are working.
And they're ready to go. They have been continuing to do this work during this
Right.
time. So, everything should be ready to go. I will add on to, since I'm talking about this, I talked to you guys about the small projects around the house. And I met with Kevin on those, the contractor, including this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, I'm gonna get back with him. He's up for it, as again, a separate thing. So my plan was, well, to get through the last 3 weeks and food council meet next week concerning recreation stuff, but then get right back with him, with a list then. So, and I wanted to get Brittany involved with that next week. And so yeah, we're gonna look at trying to get these, I don't know, it's a number, and we talked about it, then there's more, there's a little piece broken off here, and we have a whole little list of things which, if you can just knock them all out, would be great.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working on with that.
Fabulous.
Okay.
And we should be on target to finish by September. I mean, we haven't heard any different yet.
And on that list includes not just the ceiling wall here, but upstairs hallway walls.
That's what we talked about, plus.
Okay.
When will they actually start on the patching the cement out here, or what are they going to do?
It's starting, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's going to happen next week, but
Should
anytime
be.
starting next week.
Okay.
My understanding you had to put July date on selected.
Okay, that's all. Okay, that it on the grant project? Okay, moving on to Art Walk, we're looking good there. We've got all the artists, we've got 6, we've got 4 indoor, 2 outdoor. Got music, and so everything's going good. We do need to make sure we know how the yard is gonna, usually tables are out there, and since again, Brittany's new, and I think Kathy's kind of take care of that, but we'll have to make sure there's some tables and tablecloths out in the yard. For people who wanna just sit out there and enjoy music and drink a bottle of water.
And I apologize, I've had a tremendous amount of things happening, this month in my family, so I am gonna be working on getting all the historic, aspect of possibly getting somebody upstairs in the bridal room and doing that we spoke about at our meeting, of having somebody with a display.
Oh, yeah, okay, the dress and stuff.
The historic clothing.
The historic stuff, only the historic stuff.
We have one issue that might come up. Since we have the 4 indoor. Hopefully, let's all count on really good weather that day because we have 2 outdoors. And I don't know if we can pack everything up. I think we can, if it rains, get them all up on the porch. Because we've got the music and we've got the live art demo that we knew of. And then there's one with stained glass who was going to do out in the yard.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's pretty. But if it rains,
Yeah.
I think we could squeeze them in on the porch.
So I have a question. If it rains, can we not use the auto house to put somebody in it?
I don't know. I mean, I always like to use that. We also have the portico here. If it rains, somebody could be under the portico.
I think we should plan to use the auto house.
Yeah,
People
isn't there
have
a
been
stove
asking
sitting
to-
there?
To see the auto house and not.
Yeah,
see
but
the
it's
house.
covered and it's one small thing. It's
Hey,
not,
if we need to use it, then we should.
they don't have to get an update on that.
Yeah, before our walk, then we should maybe do a walk through there. I think it hasn't been cleaned up.
No, it's been used regularly.
Yeah.
Last month.
Okay.
It's clean.
Okay, yeah, I
Right,
like that.
okay, then it's
Let's use the auto house.
Let's
Yeah,
use
sure.
use
People
it as a
have been
backup.
asking to
Plan
see
B.
it
Use
here
it.
anyway.
Plan B is auto house. Okay.
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 I just wanted to make sure it was clean and stuff. I didn't know.
Well, absolutely, but I think we've got it, and if people wanna see in it, they're all
You
the
guys
same
know I
stuff.
love the house.
No,
Yes.
it's very cool. No.
It is
So-
very cool.
I've never had anybody, oh, okay, that's a B, plan B.
Okay.
Alrighty, news releases for grant project. That's you, Karen, right?
Well, it's me, but I'll share with you and then hand it over to Sue Ellen. I was preparing what would be a proposed draft for everyone to review and approve, and then go on through the city and all. But Sue Ellen checked with Jeff, and there is a protocol that the city follows, that all news releases are created and submitted only by the public information staff. And so, and I would like for some collaboration there, because while the public information staff, I'm sure is fabulous at what they do, the specific, unique nature of what we're doing and the history of how we got to where we're at as far as why the projects are happening. I think they would be, without that information. So if it's possible for some sort of collaboration among the staff and the board, just to say, if they're going to draft something up, can they get it back to the board so the board can say, oh yeah, we forgot this, can we mention this? And then they take it back to the staff, and then the staff could go, oh, okay, we'll craft it that way. However that's to be, I think it would be best if there's collaboration.
Are we not an advisory board? Can we not at least advise what's listed in the thing? Can we submit it to them and see how it goes? And then ask very kindly that they submit it to our board before it's released to the public?
That's what I would think would be okay.
The direction that I receive, we can receive from Jeff is we can definitely provide him with information, and there were some great questions that you asked for that I think are very appropriate to provide the answers to the people who are crafting the news releases. The timing of the news releases are looked at as far as a much bigger picture. For example, you wouldn't want the news release for the Callahan House to come up the same day that City Council decides to put on the ballot these specific items.
Because we'd be buried.
You'd get buried. So the idea with having this one central group is to make sure that things are put out in a way that you don't have everything on a Tuesday and then nothing for 2 weeks and everybody lost what was going on. Right. So given that nature, we can provide information for the crafting of the news release. The actual approval of the news release will not be able, in the timing wise, to come back for approval
Because of time.
Time frames, and it's not what they do. It's generally approved by staff to move forward because the timeframes aren't such that it lends itself to come back and be rewritten.
Okay, so as an advisory board, can we at least advise or advising me suggest that these are the items that are going there?
Yes, that could be submitted.
And so Karen could put her list together or actually write it out and say, this is what I suggest.
Yes.
And I think that's kind of what we as a board were asking her to do anyway. When we were talking about it at the last meeting, when we spoke with Ben, you weren't here, but that was what we were gonna do anyway, and you were gonna look at it and see if that's what you wanted to do. So really moving forward, it's not like it's changed that much in the sense that it's just going not to you, Ben, but to the
Well, yeah, and then
One
we
public.
always go from through our people.
And Karen did submit some questions that are very appropriate to request information to be included in that, but is not able to provide her that information that she needed in the time frame that she needed it by. So
Okay.
that's
So
And that was just before today, so that I could have something for you all to see.
look at.
so I just was not able to give her the information she needed.
But we can get the information before she submits it to the, possibly?
There's a lot of moving parts happening right now.
Yeah, it's,
I can work with
you can't make any
Brittany
guarantees on a
to
specific timeline right now.
I can work with Brittany to get the answers to the questions that Karen asked. They're very detail oriented, and so require some, I don't want to misspeak or provide inaccurate information. And I can work with Brittany to help bring her up to speed on that project to help get those answers. And she starts on Monday and she's got a lot of stuff to do to orientate just being with a full-time employee of the city of Longmont, part of Recreation Services and part of Callahan House.
Sure.
So,
You don't want to overwhelm her.
No.
I want her to stay.
Don't we all? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So the only concern, I guess, timing wise, is it sounds like it's not going to be something that can be done anytime soon. How will you notify the public when the grounds will be limited? For example, when they're going to be doing work on the concrete, I imagine for safety, you probably will block off access to the garden.
To the concrete.
So,
They're not blocking they're not stopping access to the garden.
right, but people, when they walk in on driveways.
They will,
And
that
that's
will be
part
blocked
of
off.
this. Okay, so they're not going to be able to walk in on the driveways.
They'll have to use a
Or access
sidewalk.
the driveways.
They'll have to use a sidewalk.
So the only in and out is the west sidewalk.
Sidewalk.
Okay. I think as long as the public is aware of that, it's important to be transparent, is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's
Is that-
the obvious.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
it's on
Cherry
but
Street.
I think it's always nice to tell people, hey, this is what's happening and this is why, and this is gonna be a temporary
I believe it's a 12-hour
limitation.
window.
Oh,
It's a
okay,
12
12
hours?
hours? Only 12
I
hours?
believe so. So it's not a,
All right, I
It's
was
not a
not,
big deal, yeah.
that's surprising,
Yeah,
because
not
I
for
was,
walking.
once they
That's what in
pour,
my house, so I mean, it's concrete's done to
goes
walk
quickly.
on
Right.
very quickly. Unless there's additional things like cold or moisture.
Oh, please, we're not going to be living in Oregon. Don't.
Yeah, that's right. Like it.
We don't like
I
rain
go every month and sign up over there when we block it off. It says,
Yeah.
Use it, enter the gardens through the main entrance on
let's go ahead and close the
West side.
gates.
Maybe a little signage or.
the, sounds good.
Okay, moving along. The fall tea, October 1st, 1 to 3 p.m. Is there any updates, anything you want to mention there?
Yes, just briefly, we did meet and put together a quick revision to what we've used in the past years as far as an invitation, and the second paragraph specifically with regard to what the update is. And I can just read that one short paragraph to you if you'd like, and then we can talk a little bit thereafter. A short change, and it will be that the current board members are pleased to have created a framed acknowledgement including all of the ladies' names who have served on the Callahan House Board from the very beginning, 1938, to the present, as well as a photo display of all the house managers through the years. These, along with the most recent restoration and preservation projects completed with the grant from History Colorado, will be showcased during the tea. So that's the one change that is going to
That's
happen.
the
Old
updated.
and
If you'd like this, I can give this to you.
Well, the,
I was gonna say, you don't have to, but if you're, but it's just a quick, the latest update.
We should, yeah, we should have a
oh, okay.
We're talking
Update
over.
for what?
What's happening with the house?
The,
So in there, you're putting it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all you've added
That's
to.
all.
Yeah, we took out the
Just
old,
took out the old
added
paragraph
the
of,
new.
we recently received the grant application, we did a grant application, received the $180,000. This is what it's all gonna go to. all
It's
of
very
this.
simple.
So we just changed out the paragraph.
with that the final version, that would be included in a packet at a later board meeting, correct?
It
Sure.
can be, but
because
it's
she's not till October.
yeah, it can be, yeah.
It
It
can
can
be,
be even for next 2 months.
Yeah.
It can be, yeah.
So it's
Because we're gonna get the invitations out earlier rather than later.
Yeah.
One of the comments Karen received was that last year was that they wish they could have come, but they had other plans, they'd already made other plans. So it was,
They asked us
Get on their
more,
calendar.
they said, let us know more in advance, and that was several of the ladies actually, so.
I have
So we
one-
plan to meet again before the end of this month to handwrite the envelopes and include the invitation printed as it is, and the same little stationary card, and
Very simple.
mail them out to the ladies, and it's done.
And that was one of the things we needed to go upstairs and get.
After the meeting, we need to get more of the cards.
The cards. And the other aspect of it is that we were then going to follow up with email reminders about the upcoming tea and following back through.
And just a note clarification, just for the secretary, she can just note a change was made, and then in the later, when we put the invitation in, people will be able to see the change.
Yes.
She doesn't need to notate the change.
No.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
I just wanted to bring up one thing, I know it's minor, but I just want to bring it up, is I checked the schedule and there is a Bronco game that day, it starts at 11. Anybody want to move it to 1:30? They're playing Chicago.
What we had in prior years, we've had it 2 to 4. Would you like to go 2 to 4?
Well, I was trying to go in the middle, 1:30.
Well, okay, because of Ann's request, I suggest that we move it from 2 to 4 for any of those people out there that are.
Because I may not be the
Bronco
only
fans.
person who watches Bronco.
I watch Bronco.
Yeah, I watch.
Yes.
Then
I just thought I'd throw it up.
Then I
Let's
don't
just
think it's a
change
horrible
the time to
request that
2
we
to 4.
move from 2 to 4. That was a
It's the
discussion
one that
we
we-
discussed.
Do we want to,
We
agree?
talked about it at the meeting, and
Do we want to vote on it or?
I'll make a motion. I make a motion that we move the tea hours from 2 to 4.
I second it. All in favor? Okay. Thank you, guys. Well, I was looking at their schedule, I thought, well, that might prevent some people from coming on time. You know, they might come late or something.
One other quick thing that we talked about in our task meeting is how you would like to, as a board, have the refreshments of the team. In the past year, it's been done by house staff. And I tried to find what the cost was on that, because I was curious too. I'd asked even last year, I was like, well, what's this going to cost? Because we need to be mindful about it. But that wasn't clear. But what I found from the financials from April of last year is that there were charges of like $172 for pastries, charge minimum $10 for grapes, some charge that I can't tell what portion of it, but it's trays, it's referencing a name of a memorial that was held here and Callahan House Tea, and it has the total together, so I don't know what portion of that was. So I don't know what the cost was to do food by staff here to the Callahan House. So an option that was talked about as something for everyone to consider is, would we as a board, as current board members, instead of having the house staff prepare and have costs purchase or expenses, would we like to individually plan to bring, something particular?
For
Like
our
you like
catering-
cheese and crackers.
For our
And-
catering kitchen, we have to use, we can't bring in,
we can't bring
we
it on.
can't bring outside food
Okay.
because of the status that we have in this catering kitchen. If you move the whole tea upstairs, you could do that, but if it's down here, it has to be catered or purchased
Okay.
food.
All right, that
So
answers
we
that
are
question.
limited by our designation.
Okay,
No
then-
problem.
So then we'll just go back through the whole.
That's my understanding.
Okay,
Is that does that reflect your understanding?
that's right.
Could we just settle them at like, let's
Okay,
knock over
can I-
to
So are you saying that people aren't allowed to come into the house and use the house for an event of theirs and bring their own?
Correct.
Unless it's upstairs.
Unless it's upstairs. They can't be downstairs.
Correct. Correct. That is my understanding.
What if I volunteer my catering services?
I don't know that piece. I think I would have to go through that with the.
Because I have all the certifications and everything, I'd be more than willing to volunteer my catering services as a certified chef with all the food serving certifications and everything, that I could do the J's. I don't want to put anything more on staff. I'm concerned with starting with Brittany,
Right.
going to scare her off. It's a simple enough thing that I can,
Let me research that in a formal way, and thank you for that option. That is, I don't want to put anything in jeopardy, and my knowledge is
I do not want to portray it as, everything. I don't know anything about it, I know enough to be cautious, but I don't wanna step on things
That's
that,
fair.
I don't wanna do things incorrectly.
I understand.
Let me find out if that will work.
And
I think there's a good
I would
possibility.
volunteer my services and all donation of foods.
Just one quick question, I totally think that down here versus upstairs is great, is best.
Well, that's it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
beautiful in here, but how many people normally come, how many would we be inviting, do they all fit around the table?
No, we sit at little tables.
We have little tables set up.
Okay,
But we usually put like 4 card
access
tables.
to this room too.
This is where the food is.
We usually
Okay.
set the food
And it's a
up here.
buffet,
Okay.
and then we fill up our plates.
Okay, nice.
And there's tables of
And
4.
that being said, then I do think that we would probably have to pay the additional cost of what the house costs for tea and coffee, but then I could cover food costs otherwise, and then we can do it in the catering manner and keep temps and do whatever else we need to do for records.
I don't want you
No.
taking the brunt of the expense.
I'd be-
The
I'd
point
be
wasn't
more
that,
than
it was
willing to
to
do that.
try not to spend.
You know
it
how we all, do you know how we all make our donations in the ways that we can?
Yeah.
So, no big.
There's always possible. Okay,
But generally, are you all okay with the same sort of light finger foods? Is that how Karen Reed described it, you know, with
Yeah,
these
just
juice
like
crackers?
And not too many sweets.
I just-
A nice balance that everybody
A little
has.
sweet,
Available.
savory.
A little sweet, a
It's
little
basically
savory,
about
it's all
the
good.
fellowship.
Yeah.
It's not about
I don't like all
stuffing on
sweets,
faces
but
with
for me,
cucumber sandwiches or something.
oh, I like those.
Oh, stop, stop.
I can do cucumber sandwiches now.
We're gonna have lunch again. Never mind.
No,
Okay.
we'll just eat.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Light.
I was kidding.
So that's the update.
Okay, well, thank you. Alrighty, July open house, it's coming up soon here, July 26th, 5 to 7. Since it's only, 2 hours there, 3 hours, no, 5, 6, 7, 2 hours. We'll all, I guess whoever can make it, we won't do shifts, like we do when it's a 4-hour thing, we kind of do shifts, the first shift and the second shift. I think whoever can make it to help, try to make it.
Remember I said I would not.
You have signed doctor's excuse. Yeah, so, and like I said, with all of us, that should be plenty of people then.
And so you know, just some kind of ties, it dovetails in with the information I was requesting to be able to write the news release. It was also to be included in the display boards that I was being prepared to bring to you today, so that you could look at them and prove them for use at open house events. They don't have that done because they don't have that information, so those aren't available for July's open house.
Okay. I would like to just suggest that I know and I have complete confidence in Karen and your details and your efficiency and your attention to details. Just that you just go ahead and move forward if you can get those boards done to the best of your ability, because this is an opportunity for the people to be aware of it. I personally think if the board approves, we move forward and just allow you to get those boards ready for the best of your ability for the open house. I'd hate to think that we miss this opportunity simply because we don't have the time to visually see it here at this meeting. I personally trust that you will have accurate information because you wrote the grant on those boards.
I can do it with that information. I won't have updated information unless Ben and Sue Ellen, unless I can have the information that I've asked
We're not gonna be able to get that level of.
That's
is
Between now and next Wednesday.
to have that update included.
If you wanna pare that down to some, some much shorter basics. But it just, we don't have the time right now. This is it.
And as far as showcasing Callahan House, it's still a Callahan House.
Yes.
It's still the nuts and bolts of the Callahan House, and then whether it's Empire Construction doing the renovations, if they know that versus not know that.
It's not all that relevant to most people.
Subcontracting below that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't need to know that.
They don't know that either, so.
Including, just so you know, for including that in the news release, it is important. It is how a lot of our historic information has been gathered is through old newspaper articles that did include details such as, you know, the companies out of Chicago that came and did the renovations. And so having that information in the news releases is important for that purpose. And then also then to be able to have it on a display where people can see, oh, that's the purpose behind the meeting, those kinds of details. So
We can always update the boards as
Yeah,
as
I
we
think-
get them.
I think that's.
Go with what you know.
Yeah, I think that's true.
So I would like to put a motion out there that Karen, sorry,
You got a new member?
it's been a long one. That Karen move forward and do the boards and have them available and ready to be set fire projects, at least for the open house, to the best of our ability. With as much information as we've got.
Can I just ask, how are these actual boards, or are they tag board, or how are they gonna be
It's
supported?
like a presentation board similar to the size that I showed you.
So, I mean, was it something we need a tripod for, or is it something? So,
Yeah, even just a table tripod.
okay,
Or,
that's what I'm wondering.
or if you're needing a floor tripod.
Well, I mean,
But you're,
if
let me see
you
if I
know
can tell you
how big it
sizes.
is, we know.
Side. Let me give you, let me see if I can give you size.
Tabletops would
So
be
it's,
nice.
it's kind of like a big poster board,
It's
a
like
big foam
big
board or
Hard,
something.
yeah. it's
Something
like
that's
big
stiff
foam
so that
board.
it
It is
won't-
stiff
Right.
and it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
gonna collapse, so it's firm. But, I don't believe I have
But if they fit on a tabletop, that'd be.
here, so they are, basically, they're 22-inch by 28-inch project boards. They're a nice pleasant gray, which is actually kind of a greenish gray, it looks really pretty, but, I have 4 of those so that we can properly display with pictures, each of the areas of tasks within the grant project that are being.
I'm sorry, what were the dimensions of the board?
22 by 28.
22-inch by 28-inch project.
You think that'll support, do you think a
And
tabletop
they're
will support
lightweight,
that?
they're very lightweight.
Okay,
I
then that's
mean,
good.
it's,
Then we don't need the
it's,
tripods.
Well,
I mean, you actually
Not the
want
floor
them,
plan.
The floor easel, we don't need the floor easel.
may not need a floor easel,
Or maybe
maybe
for
just a
space like you
tabletop
want.
easel as long as the table's.
Well, the
Like
floor is
just
just take up a
four
lot of,
boards.
yeah, the
But
floor
it's-
easels take up a lot of space.
Well, what we'll do is this allows us to be flexible enough to see which one works best, and then we'll work under the
Yeah.
venue. Because it's going to be an open house,
Right.
and we don't have other vendors in here with that. This gives us the ability to be flexible and see what works
It
best.
does. I like it. I'll second the motion.
I don't think she's made it yet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, all in favor?
I
Okay.
And we can, on a side note too, once you've actually had the chance to look at them, if we want to redo or change things up, please, let's do. I don't want to be the end all be all, this is the way it's going to be.
Right.
I want, if this is
Yeah,
us,
work
this is
in
all of
progress,
us.
right.
Yeah.
This will be their initial run. We'll see.
Right.
I think this is great. It gives us a chance
Go
to
forward.
move forward
Right.
and get work to do.
Moving along to item F, donations and contributions. I think maybe we can finish up on this, but you've presented a letter. We wanted to finish it today, I guess, or talk about it.
I have a quick update, because obviously with Brittany's transition to house manager, she invited us to continue on as a committee and wrap it up, and I said, no, it's really important that we all continue, including you, because I like inclusion. The more eyes on things, the more
And she
involved,
has
the
had
better.
tremendous
So I
amount of
think,
input.
our objective is this, we do have the donation policy and guidelines, prepared, and it's just a simple front and back page. The purpose of this document will be for us to use as our guidelines, for donations. And then the other document that we're questioning about is the donation agreement, which we use the same setup, the same format that Eric Mason uses for the museum. But we have to meet one more time to talk through a little bit more about the process, and then also there's the question of, do we really want to keep the donation agreement and propose a donation proposal agreement to just items like a tea service set, and then any monetary donation just goes directly through the rec track, or however it is that the donations are being paid. And then we've discussed about, is there some sort of threshold or a wherein a significant amount is where we stop and take a pause to really acknowledge that. It's one thing if somebody goes on and scans this QR code and says, oh, let me put in $20 and
The city
funds,
has an existing policy, I don't know what the threshold is, but financial contributions.
we use that policy, it's
We
10,000.
Okay,
and
then
so
it has to be
10,000
specifically
it goes
city
through the
council
city.
to
Yeah.
accept.
And so we incorporated
Oh,
all of
perfect.
that too.
So-
But we're
But I
talking
think
about.
we
things
talked
that
about
are-
something well below.
Yeah.
We were
10,000
thinking,
as a
It's gonna be more,
threshold.
right?
we were thinking anywhere from 500 to 1,000, in the sense of people then get acknowledged for that specific amount type of
We
thing.
just send a thank you note, or is that what you're saying?
We make it more personalized, and then how we're gonna acknowledge
Include them
them.
in the donation list, how we're gonna keep a donor list. So
And
that's.
so this is still something, a work in progress that we haven't quite clarified. And we recognize that all of this is gonna have to go through the city, but we've been very, very diligent in going through what the existing city policies are, incorporating those and incorporating what other
The
like-
museum,
like the
like-minded,
museum,
the
like-minded
historic approach.
group in the city, within the city has done, and reference to them. But, there's a difference between donating $500 and donating $20 online, and how exactly are we gonna go about doing that? And then how does it show up on the website? And then it also came into question is how then does that show up within our financials? Do we need to have a specific line item? Is it specifically, is that one that's in existence already? Or is it a pot that it all goes into?
Is it like a lump sum, if
It's
we
been-
get 10,000 last month, or is it individually listed?
You know how that we used to have that one page Callahan House budget, or the Callahan House Fund, Callahan House Fund? And that the line item donations was recently added because that's what we asked to have done. And so my guess is that all donations,
Go into that.
all financial
Lump sum.
donations are identified in that
And the question,
column for that given month. Is that right?
so the question was, is there any way that we could have it from people coming in with a QR code and just donating $20? If we could put an additional code for say, larger fund items. And I think there's a way to do it, and I know there is, but is it something that is user-friendly, doesn't make too much work for somebody, and yet it's just, I personally think it's just a quick fix within the accounting system that you can have a line.
I think that,
And differentiate between the $20 donation and the more higher donations.
I don't know that our system needs to make a difference. There is a way to do an email notification to a staff member if something is done. And I think a human being could easily assess that.
So
diversion
we're
of
looking at it simply on our reporting line. So we as a board can acknowledge and see it, and then that way, we know who needs to have the personal thank you notes, all of that kind of stuff. It's really essential that we acknowledge the gifts, that we have a written thank you for that gift, and to do that. Now, we're not gonna write $15 thank you note, thank you for your $15. That's just too.
I think if you guys come up with the threshold, so go ahead and figure that out. I'm sure we can figure out a way.
Absolutely.
to
Is there any way on the QR code, if they put their email address in, they could get an automated thank you, you know?
Well, there
I
should
think
be an
that should be
automated thank you. no
Yeah,
matter
if
what.
they get that automated thank you, that would be nice.
We don't know
Does
if
that
that's happening.
So, A, I don't know if you've received any donations to this time, so that would be A. Okay. B, their information, unless they do it anonymously, which they have the option to do, would be available to staff when they make that donation. So, the staff would be able to either do a generically approved email out to folks, could do whatever you want to. At the moment, it's not a burning fire with lots of people doing that.
Right.
If it was automated, it wouldn't even involve somebody actually doing it, it would just kick out a.
I think for the volume of that you're currently experiencing, just a staff member could keep up.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I think you're
Well,
gonna be
well,
okay.
is it could be even as simple as a thank you on the receipt.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then we can do, that piece can happen. So if there's verbiage that you would like to have that comes on the receipt for a specific purchase of that, you
That
can
makes
have that
sense.
set in.
Yeah.
That just makes
I'm
sense.
anticipating future volumes to increase.
I love it.
We're trying to be
That's
our goal too.
I love it.
I agree.
We're thinking
Good
forward, we
optimism.
are thinking in
So-
the future.
I guess to clarify, part of the reason why we're bringing it back to the board is we would like the board's input. Is there a specific threshold that the board overall sees that we should be starting at? Is it 500? Is it 1,000? Is it 1,500? What is it the board thinks
I'd
is
say
appropriate?
a significant.
I'm just gonna throw out there, since
threshold.
we know the volume of contributions isn't real high right now, I'd
Yes.
say everything should be acknowledged. Once we reach the point where we're getting 20 a month, then we can talk about, well, okay, we're getting too many. No, it's never too many, but it's never too many, but now we're getting a volume and we have a head count problem, we don't have somebody to do all this.
I understand where you're at, but we're trying to get a policy in place, so it's very important to me that we just get the policy in place, and then the policy is in existence. We don't have to rehash this.
Right.
Well, I think there's two levels of acknowledgement is what we're maybe talking
Yes.
about. That we'd like everybody to be acknowledged.
Everyone gets
Right.
named.
But if somebody, and this is a rarity, right? I mean, if somebody gives $500+,
Right.
and that is a physical, you're
Right.
all very big on physical note being written to that
Right.
person,
Yeah.
so.
I would
I think
lower
that-
it, I would lower it to 100. I think
And
even
there's
getting a
not-
$100 one.
And there's not
is
very
probably-
many of those.
Yeah, there's not very many of them, so let's, but if I donated
You
$100.
can always
I
change
appreciate
it.
right?
You can
Let's see,
always
that's-
change it.
That's exactly why we were bringing it back. And the other thing is, we did find out through dealing with this process when we went in and punched in and looked through the website and stuff, we got directed specifically to doing a bench.
Yes,
A bench.
Donating a bench.
bench.
there's a little hiccup there, there's something
There's a
wrong.
hiccup on the line.
Um,
We know exactly where they got it, that they should be able to donate a bench to the
A
Callahan.
bench, okay.
Oh, because the website
Yes.
has them that.
Because
You
the
should-
website leads them
Like if
directly
you-
to it.
Yeah, if you pull up the
They
QR
do
code,
two donations.
if you scan the QR code right now on your phone, let me pull one up so that we can, anyone
So it
who
either
wants to.
shows
can
it as
actually
an
go
option
through
or
it.
it shows it as an
That needs to
example, I
go
can't
then.
remember.
It's
The
a-
infused one, we
It
should
it
definitely.
pulls it right to that rather than giving them.
That's
the-
why I felt horrible, and
Yeah.
it's no wonder that's where exactly where they
Yeah,
got
they
it.
thought they were doing.
They were doing the right
Right,
thing.
right.
It says right there that we can do it.
We told them to do it.
Well, because lots of
Take it,
parts
scan it on your phone.
If you would like.
If you want to scan it on your phone, use that QR code, give it a go, because it's really quite interesting. It doesn't take you to the opportunity to put in funds like, here's $20. No, it's like, here, donate a memorial bench. And it was like, oh, no. That's not right. We don't want that.
And so I felt horrible that we turned them down when that's what, in a lot of ways,
I don't
we
know what they
directed
saw,
them
if they
to
saw
it.
that or not, but, that was
Never
not
been
there, but
angry or-
it was not there
I'm
when we
afraid that
originally
we
set it up.
offended people that way.
Something
I really am.
changed though, something changed in hiccups somewhere along the line, because last year when Sue Ellen did a beautiful job creating the QR code and then getting the donate button on the website, and then we talked about, okay, the donate button when on computer has to be at the top,
It's at
but
the bottom.
when you're scanning the QR code and it's on your device, it needs to be, right, pop up first. And so, and then when we did that, when we went through the process, it was a little cumbersome. You had to kind of jump through hoops to get to, all right, yes, I want to make this, pay this, and yes,
Yeah, Brittany.
no, I
did all
don't
of
want
it,
to
and
use my
she-
city account, or yes, I do. And so there was a little process there, but it was always pointed to how much.
So I
So something
used the
clear.
QR code and the link and I got to the Callahan House.
So if you donate,
Donate. You have to go
you know,
through
go through the
donation.
process,
online.
Go
do
through
the
the
steps.
process.
Yeah.
I did that.
So if you
Make a
donate,
donation. Right, make a donation online.
I clicked that. And I went here. So there's a lot of different ways people can come in. If you find the area that you see, because I'm looking on a phone and I'm looking at a link and I'm using my personality.
Right.
So 1/3 of people think like me or you.
what,
1/3 of people can get halfway there, and 1/3 of people are like really creative and do something totally different than you would do. So if you're looking at a different location where
I got an
a
idea.
button's clicked, let me know and we will work on that.
Brittany had it on her
Computer.
MacBook or laptop, whatever. So when the two of you get together,
She knows exactly
she
what
can show
we're
you,
talking about.
because she's the one who went through it. She's like, whoa, this is a problem.
And
And
yeah,
so-
she said right away, she said, oh, we gotta get that.
So
And I'm like,
she can show you.
Okay,
on
because
her
I don't
device.
see it with this, with my phone
And then when I'm
moving
on
forward,
mine.
so
Mine is-
let's find out.
Yeah,
how
yeah,
to do it.
Donate.
My big thing is, I don't wanna offend anybody.
People, right, we don't
that
wanna
wants
have it out
come
there.
Like if you stand by
Anything.
on
Well,
your
one
phone,
says
it's
park
really
bench
easy
and one
to
says
get to
Callahan. They're all in an online store concept. So there's two choices.
But
But anyway, I see your point. But if there is a link error,
Taken.
let's get
Let's
that,
get it
let's
fixed.
get it fixed.
That's exactly
Absolutely.
right.
There's no
And if
intention
you don't know about it,
this.
we can't fix it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let me
Yeah.
know.
So
Happy
that
to
was
do
that was an aha moment for us that we're like going,
Yeah.
Very good.
Then Brittany can show
That's
you.
how that happens.
Is there any more discussion on the contributions then we'll do, or we're kind of
No, we
running
will,
late?
I
we will need it on the next agenda, next month's agenda,
Yeah, keep
because
it-
we
keep
will
it
be
on the
meeting,
agenda.
with Brittany after she's here as,
I'm gonna have to excuse myself.
Say it's almost
from
11
everybody.
o'clock
I've
here.
got- We have interviews at noon
Okay.
and I've got some stuff with,
Thank you.
Thank you
for your
thing for a new rec center. I've gotta get there before that. I did want to mention one other thing, before I go about, we also are right on the edge of hiring a program supervisor that will oversee Brittany, Callahan House, and a number of other areas. So
Okay.
I'm excited about that.
that's what the interviews are for.
No,
That was yesterday's.
that was yesterday's.
Today's the
interviews.
museum
Today's
director.
museum director.
Oh,
So-
no, I'm museum
Okay.
director.
Yeah, so that's a more all afternoon thing. So, that's very exciting, to get, we have 2 internal candidates that are both excellent. And we're very excited between Brittany and getting this going, we're gonna be able to commit the time that we need to.
Can I ask that at the next board meeting, that maybe we could share with the board how the structure is
Yeah.
lined up within the city? That
Yeah, because, I mean, we
Yeah.
literally,
have restructured.
yeah, I mean, everything is relative term,
To know about that.
but we've definitely gone through a minor restructure. We've gone through a major restructure last year.
Right.
And just internally, we've gone through these minor restructures with moves, well, and kind of, it's more duty adjustments. So,
But
anyway, it's
it would
good
be
stuff.
helpful
Yeah.
just to see it, and I'd appreciate it if we
Be,
could
be glad
include
to.
that in the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody,
Thanks,
sorry.
Thanks, Ben.
Okay,
Yeah, I will need to leave in 15 minutes
Okay.
so that I
Let's
can.
sit
I think we can wrap this up too. Under new business, I don't know, if Karen has anything to talk about the scrapbook.
Yes, I do.
I think we can not talk about future agenda items today.
Correct.
Okay, so let's just finish up.
So what?
Oh,
Karen, do you have anything on
Yeah,
vision
she's
for
good to go.
scrap?
Yes, Ken Sandell did, I met with him, showed him an example of the scrapbook, and he said, okay, yes, this is something I've done before, and he said, normally I charge $20 per file. Now, per file, per file, $20 per file. He said, and to explain what a file is, that's the photo. Photo. So he said, but he said,
One image itself
is $20. But he said, with your project and quantity that you're doing, he said, I'll charge $10 per file. And I said, okay. And can you tell me what that means and what we get for that? It is absolute professional quality photo that is a very large file, meaning it is really good quality that you could take and blow up into a poster if you wanted it. But it's rectangle in size. He's aware that the scrapbooks are 12 by 12, and he said yes, but I would take the picture. He said I could provide it to you in its raw format. It would be rectangular in size. It's a full-size file, and then you can modify it to the size that you want your image to be in your electronic project. And so that would take some work on someone either on the board or within the city, if there's resources within the city that can help us to do that kind of thing as well. You would be the person who would know or be able to find out who in the city could help us with, once we had those raw files, sizing them properly to electronically put them in an electronic scrapbook. Does that make sense?
So is a file a full page?
It is.
Okay.
Okay, that was clear because I was thinking individual.
Yeah.
pictures.
No, that's what I was thinking.
No,
Picture of the
it
dollars.
Whole
It
page,
is-
a
it is
whole
one-
scrapbook
It is
page.
one picture of the entire, the
Oh.
12 by 12 page in
Okay,
the scrapbook.
okay,
Right,
that's,
so-
yeah.
So and to give you a little understanding of like sizes, the early years, it only has 30 pages, and that's kind of one of the smaller scrapbooks. And so that, just to give you an idea for quantity, and cost. And he said it would take him, and I told him it would be about 9 or 10 books. And he said it would take him about 2 weeks. So that's the turnaround time.
How many pages
How
are
many
we?
pages?
I didn't count, I will count the pages of the scrapbook so that I can give you an
That's what is
absolute
germane, this
number.
conversation.
And yes,
Yeah.
I
Can I
can
just,
and we're not ready to go forward. I'm just reporting updated news, and we
Well,
can get more updated news next.
And I believe that, the information can be presented, the cost of and scope of the project can be submitted, and the actual moving forward with those funds, that is not, an advisory board is not able to encumber those funds for the city
Right.
to move forward, so.
Right.
Can I just clarify something? Maybe I misunderstood last month, but I thought you were gonna do it. I mean, I had, that's what I understood. I'm sorry, maybe I was completely off base.
I said that I had heard about Ken Sandville from Eric.
Okay, so you were gonna talk to him.
And that I wanted to see what he would charge and how he would approach this project.
Right, that's smart.
And
Well,
because
yeah.
he's a professional and
Right.
can get
We're gonna
a
compare.
professional image. Now, the alternative to having a professional do professional images would be me.
Okay, that's what I understood from last week.
The 12 by 12s. Now, I don't have a machine that scans 12 by 12 pages, but does the city.
And, the museum right now, they are trying to find a new director, and those are the
I know
people
that
who
they-
would be asking, and I can't.
Yeah, I know the kind of scanner that they have. It's an 11 by 17. Eric, from like last year or something when I was there doing something.
That's
I'd
a
asked
standard
him, I'm like,
size.
how could I scan a page that's 12 by 12?
But I didn't
I'd asked him.
misunderstood.
And he said they only have like an 11 by 17 scanning capability there at the museum. And that's when he said the Denver museum, Denver library, has a scanner that is a book scanner. He said you could go down to the Denver library and use their book scanner.
And that was on the discussion that we would do a field
We
trip.
would go
down.
field trip, and then it was a matter of, well, we can't go do a
The
field
board
trip.
can't do that. I mean, this was whole
So,
lot.
is that something
Okay, so,
that
well, I just
we-
thought I heard last week that you, or last month, I mean.
We're
that
new
you
to
were
it.
already
in charge?
I
That would be a
can,
whole lot of
or-
stuff.
But I did say
And would
last
it be
month.
more
That
than
you were
going
I did
to
for Ken
the
Sandville, and
Right,
Susan
right.
Nunez. But I wanted everyone to have the understanding of what our options are.
Yeah, that's right.
And while I'm willing to put in any amount of time that's necessary to get this done, I don't have the equipment.
Now, how is
The
this
scan
scanner?
would be nice to see what it would involved cost-wise if we went to FedEx.
So if I go to, you think they've got a scanner at FedEx that I could,
Well,
maybe I'll
you can
check.
have printing done.
You can have printing, but,
Oh.
but
I don't
scanning.
think I
Well,
have to
but
take it
that's-
apart.
How about, because we're on a time crunch here, and I, Sue Ellen's starting to panic, I can tell. So how about we move forward in the sense of, we do
We'll
our
put this on
research,
next month's.
we put it on next month, and let's move forward in the sense of, let's check out FedEx or wherever else that we can get an image done. We should contact the library in Denver and see how much would the cost of the pages are, would be if we came down there and scanned it there. And then we can also look at this because of the cost prohibitiveness of it. Maybe we consider, and this is just a suggestion for people to think about, maybe we break this project down into sections. So we do 2 books, 1 through 3, or one, as we can afford it, and then we move forward with the project, but within a smaller scope.
This is over $3,000 as is right now.
Now, yeah,
And
300,
Correct.
if you went 30 times 10, that's 300.
But then there's 2
900
sides.
books.
yeah, that's why I say if we break
Yeah.
it down
Right.
with only 2 books or 3 books at a time, and we break it into a more affordable aspect. The other aspect is we could consider doing a specific fundraiser specifically for this project.
Why don't we, all think about it and bring it up, we'll put it on to old business
Yeah,
for
so
next month.
put it on to old business for
That way
next
we'll
month.
keep, but look for ideas, look online.
And I mean, if next time we bring it up, if we're gonna say, well, okay, so here's how much this costs or that costs, somebody needs to check certain things out. I mean, so FedEx, I'm talking, you scan it yourself, they might have that option, and how much is that machine? You put in a credit card and you start scanning things, I believe it would work that way.
Would you
How much
do like,
it cost?
what do you call those, blueprints, like for a
Yeah.
home or something,
Yeah.
they've got those kinds of
Okay,
scanners.
So
so there's a
someone
couple, there's a
can check
couple
that out.
aspects that we need to do. And I don't wanna
But
put
that's
this all,
costs and.
No, you should-
there.
that's cost included too. I don't wanna put everything on you.
No.
Yeah,
Would you, Cindy, be willing to go and check out
FedEx.
FedEx?
Last year.
Do you do that?
Any, do you know of any alternatives for how to?
I'm just, wanting to get everybody just to think and to look at things and,
Well,
I don't know if we have to start assigning jobs or anything.
No, just
Yeah, just,
the machine at the Memorial Building, when we scanned in the stationery, it at least took the
takes tabloid.
legal size. Can it take a 12 by 12?
It does tabloid, whatever tabloid is. It can also shrink stuff. I just, there's a lot going on right now,
Yes.
especially if you're looking to move forward with a project. for
I think maybe we
Stuff.
don't wanna discuss or assign jobs here, fine. So let's go ahead and get a committee together to work on it. Can I suggest that I would like to put forth a motion that we put a committee together to look at it.
Yes, I will. Second that. Obviously, I'll leave that because I'm a historian.
All in favor of a committee to work on the scrapbooks?
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, it passed.
Who else, I'll be willing to work on the committee.
I will.
Cindy?
We got a committee.
Yeah, off one. Okay. Thank you.
I'm not sure how to fit it in, I've got a few things on my personal agenda.
I'm
Out.
up to you.
Okay.
Just don't know anyone else.
Okay.
All right, we've got a committee, you guys can work together and figure out when you wanna meet and stuff.
I got Maureen, Cindy, Karen.
Oh, Karen. Alrighty, so let's forego the, if you guys want to, can we forego the future agenda items?
I just have a quick question.
Okay.
Which ones stay on here? House manager picture project, club affair, review, future house restoration, Callahan House ski blast, past and present board member, upstairs organization.
I think that's good.
I saw a digital scrapbooking.
Well, that's,
Or that'll be in.
that'll be an old
Old
business.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, sorry. It's old business.
And we didn't talk about anything from staff and items from the board, but I think we can, since we're running pretty late today, we can either forego that unless somebody has.
I guess I have a question regarding what's at the bottom of the minutes. Did we decide we didn't need that on the minutes page?
Correct, it's on the signature
Mission
page,
statement.
which I have right here,
I guess we should sign
for,
this.
for approving the
So it's on the
minutes.
back.
You
page
don't
that
need
we
to
signed.
have these, you don't
Okay,
need
we
to
don't
have
need
it on
it
your
on.
minutes.
Do you want us to sign those?
Yes, when you're at the end of the meeting, yes, please.
So going forward, can you include that single page in the packet along at the end of the minutes?
It's submitted with the signed minutes that go in
I
to
know.
online.
Oh, I know, but in the packet that, would you mind including it in the packet at the end of the minutes?
We sign it.
Why?
Why would we need it? Why would everybody need it?
Anyone who went online to look at the packet online would not know that that page exists. Would not know that the references at the bottom of the page exist.
I submit the signed meeting
After,
minutes,
yeah, after.
and they will all have this on it. So
Oh,
only
at
one,
the end.
only 1 month, only our current month won't have this signed piece of paper in the packet. Does that make sense?
It doesn't have to be signed, it just can be blank, just showing that it exists.
So if anybody wanted to go in and print the packet, like just not necessarily us,
Okay,
but as a member off the street, can we just include it?
I sure can.
Thank you.
I don't know why they.
I would, I'm not gonna print it for your packet.
No, you don't have to
Don't,
print it for our
no, no.
package, just include it for the packet that is
Just
posted
just
online.
post it for
Well,
a
she does.
stranger off
You
the
do,
street.
right?
It's not.
It's
No.
fine.
It's not for
Well,
the,
after
not for the
meeting,
current
after
meeting, it's.
The minutes when they're finalized, they're posted, and that's signed.
So, do you know that the
And it's
detailed
got-
things are also right here
Yeah.
on the agenda, so it's on the agenda. You
It
want a
is.
blank page with it again,
It just
put it
attached to minutes, it's
unsigned.
part of the document, it's part of the document.
That seems like way too much.
It's just,
It's
way
here.
too much. It's just part of the document.
can you guys take a vote and make this one, please? On this?
Tell me how to word it.
I hear Karen, I heard a request to include a blank signature page for the purpose of,
But that's, since it's already right here on the.
It's not in the packet.
it is, ma'am, it's the first page of the agenda, is the packet.
It's right
Yeah, it's right here.
And that appears online
What,
before our meetings.
but the
The agenda
signature
and everything.
page, no one would ever know the signature page
Exists.
exists if they're pulling up the packet for, before our board meeting. Okay, so before today's board meeting, if anyone went online and looked at, because you can look at all boards' agendas and packets online, all the way up to city council. And all of the documents of the packet are visible for the public. The signature page is part of the minutes. And while it is unsigned, it shows that it is unsigned. In other words, it is
It's
a
still
draft
not
of
been-
minutes, it is not the final.
I can
And
include
so-
that at the conclusion of the minutes.
Thank you.
So you do not have to add it, I'll put it onto your minutes at the conclusion. I'll put it into the packet, it will not be printed for the board members.
So we don't need a motion on anything.
Correct.
Thank you.
All right, any other, things we need to talk about?
I think there are things that need to be on next month's agenda, but how would you like to go forward with that? Send you an email?
If you've got things that have to go on the agenda, or, send it to Sue Ellen, because she does the agenda.
I will not be at the next meeting, so I do need somebody to volunteer to take minutes for the next meeting.
Don't look at me. I've already had that conversation.
Karen, you wanna do minutes?
Cindy, how about you go?
I'm willing to do it, I hope I can do it in a way that meets the standard for, the format.
It's actually a simplified format.
It's a summary, and I think that's very important to maintain, a summary.
Follow it. Follow it.
Yeah, all those.
Follow
So-
the yellow brick road.
So Cindy, there's a template,
Mm,
and, so I don't know if I can send it to her, Sue Ellen.
You sure can, or I can work with her on that.
Okay, you want to send it to her then?
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. I will get these sent ASAP.
Hopefully you're gonna do something fun. I'm doing something fun.
Going to see my older daughter.
On the
Do we have to sign both of them
Yes, please. I just have a redundant one for my own grant proposals.
Historic fixtures, so I think, yeah, just so you all know, some of the historic fixtures on the upstairs bathroom sink were removed, and I think that's a facilities thing, and I think that Sue Ellen can probably address that, but I do think it should be addressed in our next meeting.
I think at the moment, for your information, it was leaking.
Yeah.
The initial solution was to remove the fixtures entirely, rendering the sink inoperable. They provided something right now, and it's not in stone.
It's temporary.
Yes.
Yes.
As far as I know, fixtures are not affixed with super glue or any sort of permanent adhesion. We are operating one step further down. We are trying really hard, folks, and we're really trying hard. And I guess if we're missing the boat in conveying to you our commitment to your board and commitment to the Callahan House, I'm at a loss. So please be patient. Know that things are not permanent. No walls were broken down. Nothing was done in the sense that it was just made functional.
Well,
So-
we know, we understand temporary repairs, that's not an issue. We don't want anything leaking or anything, problems like that.
And they
It's
need a
just-
place to wash their hands.
Yeah.
When they're upstairs. in the
Absolutely.
restroom.
And the big thing is, okay, do we need to restore the faucets?
So that's why he's
Are
saying
they,
it's
are they
agenda.
able to be repaired? Because restoration is key here.
So I need some help with prioritization of what you guys want, because if we're doing, please think about that. It's not gonna degrade, damage, destroy. Do you wanna focus on marketing? Do you wanna focus on where would you suggest that focus of energy be spent? There's not the bandwidth with the new employee training, with new supervisors training, with the grant fulfilling, with all these different things. There really isn't enough time to be
Okay.
mindful on that piece. I'm not saying that it's not worthy. It's very
It's on the
worthy.
list, but it's not at the top.
It just has to be on the list.
The big thing is, we just make sure that it's on the list. I understand that if there's a leakage, look, you gotta put a Band-Aid and stop it.
Yeah.
I completely get that. We just need to be aware if something is needed to be fixed, we need to be aware of what, okay, that's
We
on,
can
that's,
move on the permanent historic
yeah,
piece, and I
That's
think that's okay.
that's key. And
And I
then
think
if
that piece is still
any
there.
things are gonna be, fixed or repaired, just for example, off the top of my head, the flooring upstairs in the kitchenette, if it's gonna be fixed or repaired, that we look overall, long-term for historic purposes. I think that's the board needs to be aware of it, that's it. We don't wanna put in a temporary Band-Aid that is permanent, that doesn't, that's not permanent, that actually hinders anything that we would do overall. That's it. I think that's it. And communication's key. So nobody's panicking that like the fixture got thrown away or anything like that.
No, there were very specific things not to.
So that's just, I think if we just discuss it.
It seems like an appropriate piece to put on the list for restoration and
Yep.
renovation. And
if it's not priority, I get it.
I just,
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So as far as putting stuff on the agenda, is that something that goes out in an email to everybody, or does it just go to
if you could just send it please to me, and then
Okay.
I'll compile it, and then.
And then like normal, we look at the overall agenda and see if we want to add something to it, and if we do, then we talk to them.
And you're working with Colin to
Yes.
create the agenda.
Yes, and we try to create that honestly in the next 2 weeks.
Cool.
Just while it's fresh in our minds.
So
Maybe 2 hours.
Yeah.
So it's,
Exactly.
But yeah, and you do work on the agenda, right? It's not
Yeah.
just her.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I collaborate.
she corrects me quite a bit. She does a good job.
Cool.
She didn't ask me.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
And you, Ann, I keep on looking at you and going, oh, that's Ann, she's right here.
Sorry, guys.
Okay.
I like it a lot.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I just said it's 11:20, I'm gonna adjourn.
Okay.
Second,
I
go.
thought- Okay.